So today we're going to be looking over how much it's going to actually take for you to make $1,000 plus a month in dividends. Now, for me personally, I am a huge fan of dividends. I love focusing on them and growing them in my portfolio, mainly with M1 Finance. That's kind of the platform I personally use. So it kind of got to me a little bit because I talk to people all the time when it comes to what my goals are for my investing portfolio, and that is to get over $1,000 in dividend income. Whether I want to use that money, whether I want to reinvest that money, whatever the case may be, I want to be able to earn that in income. So I get a lot of people that ask me, well, how much do I actually need to be invested in so I can make that kind of money? Now, there's a lot of different factors that go into play, but what I decided to do was just go ahead and show you this. So if you've asked this question, maybe I linked it up for you, or maybe you just found this by chance because you're interested in this kind of question. Let's go ahead and jump onto the computer so I can kind of give you some ideas of what it can take for you to be able to earn an income with over $1,000 a month from just dividends. Now, we're here on the website called marketbeat.com/dividends/calculator. I'll have it in the description box for you guys if you want to go ahead and check it out. I'll also have my M1 Finance link down below if you guys want to check out that investing app. But what this is going to be doing for us as far as this calculator goes, it gives us a lot of options here. So we can click portfolio or individual stock. We can click on the, or we can input the principal amount, input the annual dividend yield, whether it's taxable or not, the annual contributions, the expected annual dividend increase, how often I'm getting distributed. We'll switch that to monthly. Then our dividend tax rate, and then our expected annual share price appreciation, which is the the actual value of the stock itself, and then how many years we're reinvesting, and then if there is a DRIP program, which, in case you're new, that means dividend reinvestment program. It's where companies will take the money you got from dividends and just automatically reinvest them into your portfolio. Some of them do it back to the companies that pay those dividends. Others actually reinvest it back into the overall portfolio. But either way, it's a very powerful tool because it allows your money to really get back into the account and really start working even more for you, which is obviously compounding, and that's very beneficial. And I'm going to show you guys here exactly what some of that really can do for you. Now, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you a little bit of compounding interest beforehand when we go ahead and show you how much it's going to take to make over $1,000 a month. So my current portfolio is sitting at about $4,300 for my taxable account. I have more in my retirement, but we're going to focus in on the taxable because I want to get this money to $1,000 as quickly as possible. But first, we're going to do is a quick calculation. And I'm going to show you how impactful if I didn't do anything more than just have the $4,300 sitting in my account. So as of right now, click that. So as of right now, in year one, I'm earning about $152.94 in dividends, which is actually pretty on par with what I'm expecting to earn for this year. Now, if we go through and kind of start calculating everything else, you can see here that if I have that money reinvested with no additional contributions, the following year, I'm expected to get a little bit more. But not just because the dividends got reinvested, but also because the dividend increase has happened as well too. And that's where you see the yield on cost. So a lot of companies will raise their dividends on a yearly basis. Some of them try to keep it on for a very consistent amount of time, 25, 50 years if they can, because they get put on these really great lists where people are excited to invest in them as dividend investors. And they're called dividend aristocrats if you hit over 25 years of consecutive increases, and a dividend king if you're increasing your dividends for over 50 years plus. So with those companies increasing their dividend yield, but yet you're not either reinvesting any money into the company, you're still having ownership of those shares, your actual value will continue to go up as far as how much you're getting paid out. So if you have one dividend and the yield was 3%, but then next year they actually raised the dividend yield by a certain percentage, you still get those additional payouts without doing any extra work. And that's a beautiful thing, and one of my favorite things when it comes to dividend investing that not a lot of people talk about. So I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. So you can see here that, again, in the first year, I'm earning about $152.94. Now, because that money is getting reinvested into the program, plus these companies are increasing their dividend yields, by the 20-year marker, without doing pretty much anything else, I'm pretty much going to be earning about $1,175.12 annually from dividends. Now, in a 20-year time period, that is not really a lot of increase, of course, because we're not really contributing additional money into the account. But for doing nothing else and just letting the money reinvest itself and then the dividends getting increased every single year, that's a huge amount of money that you're going to be earning per year, which is almost effectively $100 every single month for doing nothing. So you would actually almost be 12 times in your money in the span of 20 years for just having about $4,300, having a 3.5 dividend yield, and increasing the dividend on average by 3%. So that is pretty powerful stuff. Now, one big thing when it comes to being a dividend investor is the fact that, you want this money to be able to be there for you and your family down the road, to be able to cover expenses. But if something were to happen to you in that middle of the journey, it could be really hard for the family. Maybe you don't have all that money you would like there to be for them to be protected and cover expenses. So having term life insurance is honestly a really powerful way to protect you and your family, and then making sure that they're taken care of in case something happens to you. I'm gonna have a link in the show notes. You guys should definitely check it out if you don't already have any term life insurance, to see what the rates are to have your family covered if something happens to you, and essentially have money to cover expenses now and hopefully in the future as well too. But now let's go ahead and see what it would actually be like to actually get over $1,000 a month, which is about $12,000 every single year on average. So we're just going to look into the starting principal and try to figure out this number here based off of our annual dividend yield. Now, your dividend yield on your portfolio might be higher, might be lower, so this number is just dictated based off of the annual dividend that this portfolio is going to generate. You can go onto this website I'm going to have in the link in the show notes if you want to plug in your information so you can see all the different stats and what actually will work for you and how much you'll actually need to be able to hit that $1,000. Now, let's go ahead and start off with $400,000 into this portfolio and calculate this dividend. So, jumps all around there. So we are actually more than enough right over here at $400,000, and we would be earning on average about $14,226 in annual dividends. So every single month you would actually be earning more than that. So technically speaking, we can actually probably drop this down. Let's see here, to $350,000. Let's see where that brings us. Perfect. So $350,000 gets us even closer down to the actual $1,000 a month, because annually this brings in about $12,448.43. And then one thing to really keep in mind too is, even if your overall portfolio is at a 3.5 yield, certain stocks might have higher or lower dividend yields. So those are a lot of factors you got to keep in mind as well too. But imagine just having an income of over $1,000 a month because you've invested over time. Now, obviously, if you could put all that money in at once, fantastic. But, for most of us, it's going to be a gradual increase as far as our overall, account, what we can put into it, and having reinvested into the overall account so that way it can grow to this annual dividend. So if I go back to my example of $4,300 in my portfolio, I believe for me, I would need about $25,000 a year with my current rates, if I'm not mistaken, to be able to earn that money in about, actually less than 10 years. So for me, my goal is to hopefully get to $1,000 a month within about 10, maybe 15 years of time. So for me, if I was able to do $25,000 a year in contributions to my portfolio, I would be able to get to that in roughly about, looks like 9 years. So in 9 years, if I continue to put $25,000, which I can't do right now, that would equal out to $1,000 every single month, which is pretty awesome. And for me, like I said, whether I want to continue to reinvest those dividends, I could, or I can take that money and use it for other means, because it'll just be another income source for me. But if I didn't do anything with it and I kept up the amount of contributions and the dividends, and another 10 years on top of that, I would be earning $68,923 every single year in dividends. That is pretty nuts. So that's $5,743 a month on average if I just continue to invest $25,000 a year, reinvest the dividends, have my yield on cost continue to go up. That is honestly pretty crazy to really think about, to make that much money from dividends. That would equal out to about $1 million in the portfolio. But that would be interesting, because if you put $1 million into a dividend investing portfolio at 3.5% yield, I don't believe it's going to equal out that same amount of money, because you're not also increasing the yield on cost. Those companies that are increasing their dividends over time as well. So again, there's a lot of factors into it, where you're starting from, how much you're putting in every month, your dividend yield. There's so many little things that are going to go along with it. But if you stick with it, are working really hard, putting as much as you can without obviously affecting other parts of your life, you can get to a point where you're making $1,000+ every single month from just dividends. Now, I want you to keep on learning more when it comes to dividend investing, so check out my video right over here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in that next video.